Hi, thanks for taking the time to view this video. I know a lot of us are busy and I appreciate you taking the time. More and more our client is expecting us to provide them with layered PDFs. A layered PDF is a product that we may or may not be familiar with. There's a few types of layered PDFs, and the object of this presentation is to let us, inform everybody that layered PDFs are going to be the delivery vehicle by which our client is looking to provide them with their GIS data. They've spent a lot of money on maintaining their data. They want to see us provide their GIS data through layered PDFs. I'm also going to discuss briefly the steps that will be helpful in delivering these types of products efficiently. So the first thing that we need to consider, like any task that we do as a project team, is to really effectively communicate what it is we want to do. I'm taking the time to go over what initially seems pretty intuitive because there's some nuanced things about creating these layered PDFs that we need to consider. First of all, these layered PDFs, really what our client is after is to tell a story. Now this story could be a series of highlighted items that they want to convey a message for, or it could be a more complex and comprehensive story that incorporates all of their GIS data into it. So the first thing that we really need to do is define our goals. What are we trying to get done with the construction of this layered PDF? And we need to convey this to everybody on the project team. So as a request will start off something like this. We need a layered PDF of our site, and how long is that going to take? Well, the first thing that we need to really consider when doing this is to get from the client and from the project team a specific list of items that we're interested in including in that PDF. In order to tell the story, we have to know exactly what it is we need to include in there so that we can meet or exceed their expectations. Again, knowing what the overarching story is for this layered PDF is going to go a long way towards ensuring a successful delivery. A list of items may look something like this, where we're requesting recent aerial imagery. It could incorporate historical aerial imagery, any types of samples along with corresponding analytical data. There's any number of things that can be included on a layered PDF, and while a lot of these are inherently spatial, not all of them are, and many of them, the data that we wish to include on a layered PDF really takes time to incorporate into a map type format. So, like I just said, in most cases we have the data, but we really need to investigate what it's going to take to include any sort of analytical or any type of supplemental data to make the deliverable. So many times we'll receive the data, especially in the case of analytical data, it will come as a flat file inside of a spreadsheet like this. This type of data really needs to be processed before it can be input into a map. This is an effort that needs to be thought about when planning for this type of product. Many times I've also seen things like soil boring logs in the form of a PDF, and those types of things has to be transcribed and incorporated as well. So there's actually really no way to export a PDF out of an ArcMap environment other than a layered PDF. It's the native format for export out of ArcMap. But the problem is when we do this, it's never presentation ready. And the biggest challenge that we face in producing these layered PDFs, and one that the project teams really need to consider, is the amount of labeling and the amount of annotation that will go into a figure. You can see that for an area that is densely sampled, there can be hundreds of labels. I've seen cases where there's actually thousands of labels that need to be touched individually. What makes this a little bit more complicated or more challenging is that oftentimes we also want to include analytical data, groundwater level data, isocontour data, and any other supplemental data that helps to tell the story we wish to tell. There's no quick way to deal with annotation on a map, and this is a considerable effort to take and physically touch and move each one of these labels. Whenever we want to add data or alter the data in any way, that has many times labels will have to be moved around in order to make room for the changes. So one of the things we really need to think about before moving ahead is decide what type of PDF is appropriate and what's the level of effort that's associated with creating that product. Again, is our data ready to roll? What type of processing steps do we need to do prior to creating this document? What is the volume of annotation? How many labels is the GIS resource going to have to physically touch and move? And again, within the context of what is our larger story, is it a simple story or is it a comprehensive layered GIS? We really need to find out exactly what the client wants, because the effort is different for each one of these. And I'll go into this now. So here's an example of our simple in quotes, layered PDF. This is a standard delivery, but you can see that inside here we've got labels for soil samples. We have things highlighted if it was an exceedance, yellow, green. It's not. We have soil data that was formatted with the appropriate flags, the depth of the sample, and this is for just one analyte. There could be a series of these for several different analytes. So this is just sort of what I call a simple example. This is the table of contents inside of the layered PDF, and I'll preview that to you now. You can see that the functionality of this type of figure is one where it's the standard behavior that we see in any layered PDF, and that when you turn a layer off here, it turns on or off in the data frame. An important note here, something that's not inherent to the standard delivery, is the legend items do not toggle off and on with the layer inside of the map. That's an added feature that I'll go into in a second. So again, the layered PDF, it's the native format from ArcMap. Keeping the annotations concise helps improve legibility, it reduces labor costs. Moving labels around is labor intensive. So here is a comprehensive example of something I call GIS in a can. Our client loves this type of product. They want to see more of this, and this is something that we're going to get requests for more and more, and we're trying to really define a streamlined workflow to help deliver this type of product to them. Again, it's a PDF where we have the table of contents right here. This type of product is a more complex one because it's got a lot of built-in behavior. I'll preview that now. Okay, so here is I actually have the layered PDF open right here, and this is really a comprehensive type example of what I've termed here GIS in a can. I've called this thing GIS in a can because it really essentially functions as that. This is a snapshot of data with everything already symbolized, the appropriate annotation already turned on for as many as 75 different layers in this one PDF. This is a 30 megabyte document. It's a really slick product. It was put together by our lead graphic design person, who is our point of contact at this point, Jerry Bertelson. You can see that what makes this product really nice is the nice formatting here in the table of contents. Each one of these items is also categorized according to the feature type. These things, you can toggle them off and on. This thing has aerial imagery, historical aerial imagery that can be toggled off and on. Another nice feature that our client is just really excited about, and I'll show it to you now if I just go ahead and turn off a bunch of items here, is you'll notice that as I turn items on and off, the associated legend in the legend box here also toggles on and off with the features as they're turned on and off. This type of functionality is one that they really like. This behavior is something that can really only be reproduced inside of an Adobe Illustrator environment. So if your GIS resource is also good with Adobe Illustrator, then that's really going to help you in terms of cutting down on the amount of effort it'll take to produce this type of product. Another great feature with this product that makes it really nice for the client is these bookmarks. Each one of these bookmarks could be some sort of item that the client wishes to go over in discussions with a regulator or project team or whomever the appropriate audience is. There's many stories that can be told within here, and they're already bookmarked nicely and they're easy to find. So you could go and click on the base map bookmark, and within there you can see that you can toggle different things on and off and sort of isolate these things in order to discuss them. You can move to something like river sampling data, and you can see that the appropriate data lights up here, and also in the legend. I'll show a few more bookmarks just to sort of illustrate the point here. Here's all the groundwater data, and you can look at each one of these groundwater sampling events with the data on. You can look at ISO contours, different groundwater contours for different dates. So you can understand why the client is really excited about this type of product. It's really useful, and we are going to see more requests for this type of thing. To be really upfront about the labor costs with this, it's an expensive product to make. It takes the graphic design person no less than 40 hours to put something like this together, and there's probably an equal effort in terms of labor costs associated with this for the GIS person. I'm stressing this because it's really important to, before we go down this route, spend the time beforehand to make sure we have the data that you're expecting to show up on this map. Knowing this prior to going through the effort is really going to help make this a more efficient process. So again, we'll go over this again just because I really think it's this important. Planning, communication, and really understanding our data is going to ensure that we can produce this thing efficiently. We can produce layered PDFs. That's not really the hard part. The hard part is to do it as quickly as we can, make it a process that we can replicate in relatively quick order, because we're going to see these requests again and again. I think the more that we do these, the more efficiently that we'll get them done. And again, the key to success is not necessarily the end product. The key to success is really doing all of the work beforehand, the stuff that nobody really sees you do. Talking, planning, budgeting for GIS data maintenance, really expressing to your project team what the expectations are, and just keeping everybody on the same page to sort of meet the same goal. So I'll end sort of with this graphic that sort of illustrates that point.
Thanks for your time.
I appreciate you guys taking the time to view this video.